Welcome to the Cisco Packet Tracer tool. By the end of this video, you'll have built this entire network from scratch, and you'll also be able to ping from one end to the other just like this. If you hang around to the end of the video, I will tell you where you can download this entire network configuration for free, and also the before and after versions of the file. So very briefly, Cisco Packet Tracer is free to download and install. You can use it to build, configure and troubleshoot networks on your home PC. You don't need any hardware. It's free, costs nothing to download. You just need a free account from Cisco Networking Academy, and I'll show you how to do that. You can run it on Windows, Mac and Linux, and it's very safe to use. You can't break it because it's just a network simulator. So with it, you can build entire networks, you can practice Cisco commands, and other devices are available. You can see packets move across your network, and you can also troubleshoot your network. It's handy if you're studying for a certification, CompTIA, Cisco, even Linux partly. There's a whole bunch of certifications you can practice. If you're prepping for a career or a technical interview in networking, or if you want to teach networking to your students at a university. So steps are pretty easy. Create a free account, enroll in the free course, which you don't have to take the free course, download and install. So the bottom line is it's a free network lab running on your own laptop. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty now. Easiest way to get hold of the Cisco Packet Tracer download is to type Cisco Packet Tracer download. This is because they keep moving the link. So you'll see a link to the Cisco Learning Network. You don't want that. You want the Cisco Networking Academy. So if you click here, now there is a link to the download, luckily on the home page. It used to be buried away. So download Cisco Packet Tracer. You might first want to create a free account. So you just go to the login page and it says here, if you don't have an account, sign up. And then you can sign up with your Google ID, or you can create your own ID with your own personal email. Once you've done that, you'll have access to the download link. So you can see, I'll click on the login link here. When you've created an account, you should be taken to the download page. Just scroll down, decide which version you want to download. That's for the Mac, for Linux Ubuntu, or for Windows 64-bit. You'll launch the Packet Tracer install program. Launch Packet Tracer using the icon on your PC if you've got a shortcut, or from the install folder. When prompted, click on Skills for All Green button. Cisco Packet Tracer will launch. Now, usually every time you launch Cisco Packet Tracer, you'll be asked to log in using your Network Academy free account. System requirements are here. These can change over time, so check that your machine does support it. So I'll go ahead and click on Packet Tracer 64-bit, and eventually it will take me to the download folder. I've actually already downloaded this, so I will let you go ahead and install the application, and then we'll log into Cisco Packet Tracer. So I've installed Cisco Packet Tracer. I've ticked on a box to remember my account, so I don't have to log in every time, and we're in the actual environment. So let's go through the main parts of the screen here. So this is the canvas area. This is where you'll be dragging your devices, whichever ones you choose to configure, and you'll see the configuration box open in this area where you can configure the devices. Up here we have our usual menu options. So we can file, we can create a new network, we can open an old one, you can open up sample files if you so wish. You can also save your network at any point that you wish. Edit, options, view. So these you can look at in your own time. Here you can remove devices. So if you drag a router onto the canvas and for any reason want to remove it, you just click on that and then you can delete it. So I'll go back to the standard icon here. Further down here, you can click on the network device types. So network devices, end devices, components. These are your cables and connectors. Miscellaneous folder here. These is cloud devices here, multi-user. For each one you click, your options here will change. For example, end devices can be end devices, home devices, smart city devices. If I'm on my networking devices, it will be models of router. And each time you click, you will have a different set of options here in this panel. So switch models will appear, hubs will appear, and then wireless devices, and so on. The other important part is here, real-time mode is when you're actually configuring a network. Simulation mode is when you can actually sniff packets on your network and see them traverse. So the easiest thing to do is for us to build a very simple network to start with. So what I'll do is network devices, end devices, I will choose a switch. There's a whole bunch here and I suggest you try different ones. I will drag this 2960 switch. Now you can configure this switch. It's a Cisco model switch, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use it as it defaults. So it will allow me to connect devices. So now I'll click on end devices, PC. I will drag this to the canvas and I will drag another PC to the canvas. So you can see by default, Cisco has named devices. So this is PC0, switch 0, and PC1. You can change that if you want. And PT means PC for Packet Tracer. This is the exact model of the Cisco switch, the 24-port TT version of the 2960. So as you may have noticed, when I hover over the device, some basic configuration appears. You can see it's got a fast Ethernet and Bluetooth interface. There's no IP addresses set. The MAC addresses are obviously already attached. Same for the switch. I'll hover over it and it will show me all the available ports. You can see there's 2 gigabit Ethernet ports on this switch. There's a VLAN auto-configured and there's fast Ethernet interfaces 0/1 all the way up to 0/24, and there's no other configuration. The next thing I'll need is to connect my devices, so I'll click on connections. So this lightning rod here means automatically choose, so Packet Tracer will decide what is the appropriate cable type. Console connection is for emergency device configuration and setup. Copper straight through cable is the typical cable you use as a network engineer. Crossover, and there's a whole bunch of the cables. So what I'll do is I'll click on the copper cable and then I will click and I will connect my fast Ethernet interface here. Then I will click on the switch and I will connect to fast Ethernet 1. I'll click on auto. This time it will automatically choose and know which device to connect. I will click on the switch and then I'll click on the PC and it's decided which ports this time to connect. So without further ado, I won't configure the switch, but I will configure the PC and the PC here so they can ping each other. So I'll click on the device. Now, depending on what device you're using, you'll have different options. On this PC, there's a different set of modules you can connect. We're not going to worry about that now. The configuration, I can set a configuration here, depending on the interface. So I can go to my fast Ethernet interface and I can add an IP address here. I can do it somewhere else, which I'll show you in a moment. I'm going to type 192.168.1.1. When I click here, it will automatically add the subnet mask, which I can change if I wish. So PC1 has got an IP address now. PC2. So this time I'm going to click on desktop and I'm going to click on IP configuration. These are the modules you can look at another time. So I'll add the IP address here this time, 192.168.1.2. So in the same network, I can add the default gateway, which I won't worry about at the moment. The only other thing to note is a green triangle here means the connection is up and able to pass traffic. And the same on the switches. It takes about 30 seconds for a switch interface to come up, and the same this side. If you see orange here, it means it's getting ready to pass traffic usually, and red means it's unable to pass traffic, which means you'll need to troubleshoot. So I'm going to shut down this box here with this X command. I'm going to go to a command prompt and I'm going to ping the other side, 192.168.1.1. 1. First ping may fail due to ARP lookups, which I want to explain in this video. Oh, it worked. All right, so I can see the ping has been sent from 192, reply from 192.168.1.1, and I've got 4 pings sent and 4 replies. So this is our first simple network. Then we're going to go on to configure a slightly more complicated network. If at any time you want to save your file, you can click on File, Save, and then by default, Cisco has a packet tracer file, and I can have a name here, PC to PC. So if I want to come back and add to this, add switches, servers, anything else I want, I can then add to this and then save it. Okay, so say we're building a slightly more complicated network where we've got more and more NPCs. So I'll just add 2 PCs here, back to the cables, straight through, fast Ethernet, and I'll just connect it to random ports on the switch. It doesn't really matter. So again, you can see an orange here. It will take around 30 seconds for the switch port to appear. It's worth mentioning now some of your options. So as you add more devices, you can see the port names have been added here, the device names. Your canvas may become a little bit crowded. So you can go to options, preferences, and you can turn off some of these options. So show device model labels. And as you click it, you can see the labels for the devices disappear. Show device name labels. And now you've just got a blank network. You're not sure which devices are which. I'll leave both on for now. An important thing that you want to look at is the font. So we'll look at this in more detail later. If you want the entire font for your canvas to change size, you can scroll up here and apply, and the fonts will appear bigger. If you want your device output, for example, your PC screen to appear, then you go into a different part here. So the PC console text. So I've got a command prompt and say it's not big enough for me. Options, preferences, font, PC console text is white. Not sure if you can change the PC size actually. I'll try and change it here. So from 12 to 16 and apply. We'll see if it applies to the PC. Okay, yeah, so this works on a PC and the router. So if you're not happy with the size of the font for whatever reason, you can change it there and then just adjust the window so it all looks nice. All right, so I'm going to add another end device, which is probably the most common one. Again, you've got printers, sniffers, all sorts of stuff here. I'm going to add a server and I'll attach that again with a standard cable. Now, when you're adding a server, this would need a fixed IP address. And what I'm going to do, again, servers have got all different modules you can add. And these devices have got on or off buttons here. If I click on this, it powers off the server, and the same for the PCs. Click on it and it reboots it. So this isn't running any operating system like Windows or Linux. All right, so firstly, I'm going to add an IP address to my interface. You would hard set a server IP address at all times, 172.16.1.1, and it should add the default IP address. Services, so you've got all the standard services you would have on the network, FTP server, NTP server, which allocates time, AAA server for security. I'm going to add DHCP. The pool, it's got a default name. I'll add the default gateway of myself. I won't worry about DNS for the moment. The start IP address, 172.16.1.2, because 1.1 is in use. It's got the default IP address. Anytime I've changed the configuration, I can click on Save. Now what I have to go around now and do to my PCs is make a change. I'd like a DHCP allocated address, and after a while it should send a DHCP request packet to the server and receive a reply and allocate its IP address and also default gateway. I'm going to go and do this to all the devices. The only thing I forgot to do was click on. So I'll do that and click on save. I might have to go back to the PC and click on static and then DHCP again. So default gateway 172.16.1.1. I click on fast Ethernet here and you'll see it's been allocated the 1.5 address. This is the 1.3 and I'll just hover over the others, 1.6 and 1.4. The only other thing I could do if I wanted is from here, go to desktop and command prompt and I'll ping 172.16.1.1 just to prove I've got IP connectivity. So this is a very simple network with one DHCP server and 4 end devices connected to a switch. The switch has got no configuration. We'll create a new network. I just want to cover the Cisco IOS. I won't, in fact I will save this. So I want to cover Cisco IOS. You only really need to know this if you're doing a Cisco exam. If you're doing CompTIA exams, they don't test you on Cisco IOS. However, you're going to need to learn some sort of IOS if you want to practice your networking. So each of these devices serves a different purpose. It's for small office, larger office. It's got more power or less. It just depends what you need. So, and these change over time, by the way, so don't worry if they don't appear. So I'll choose this 1941. Then I'm going to hover over it. I can see there's 2 gigabit Ethernet interfaces, a VLAN. It's got the model name and the device name. So what I'll do is I'll click on this device and you can see under physical, it's showing you that there's 2 empty slots and I'll zoom in. So when you buy one of these from Cisco, it will come without anything in here because Cisco don't know what you're going to use this device for. Small office, WAN connection, broadband or whatever. It does have these built-in ports. These are welded onto the motherboard, and these are for your local area networks, recovery and initial configuration. So what I want to do is turn it off, and you can see the little green LED buttons disappeared, and I'll decide which devices to add or which modules to add. These are modular routers. So I want to add a WAN connection, so wide area networking card, and it's got 2 ports on. I only know this because I used to work for Cisco. You can choose these different ones and decide what you do and don't want, and if it doesn't work, you can move them off. So I'm going to power on the router again, and I'm going to add, I don't know if I can right click and copy this. No, it doesn't let you do that. So I'm going to drag another 1941 here. I'm going to click on it once. I'm going to zoom in, turn off, and I'm going to add WIC cards, wide area networking cards again, and I'm going to turn it back on. So I've got router to router here. It's still booting. I'll go over to this one. Just in case you wanted to, you can change the display name. So this is router 0. You could say R1. And this is the display name, and the host name is what the device calls itself, and click on save. That will change the configuration, which we'll come to later on. So when I go to the canvas here now, you can see this is called R1, and just to keep it easy to remember, router 2, R2, in fact I should just call it R2. And I'll click on save. You can use this to configure routing. This isn't of any use at all unless you're only ever configuring a router once and don't need to support or troubleshoot. Otherwise, you can ignore all this stuff. CLI is the command line interface, which is what Cisco is famous for, and they coded. I'll just shut this window for a second. I'll close that down. Attributes you don't need to worry about. This is SNMP, which we won't be covering. So CLI is your command line interface. This isn't a course on how to use Cisco command line interface, but we're going to cover a couple of very basic commands. Before we do, we need to connect our devices. So normally Cisco devices across a wide area network has to have a clock rate, and this provides timing between the two devices. So one side I'll choose as the clock side. Here I'll configure my 000 serial interface just so I can remember. Then I'll click on the other side on my 000 interface. I'll click on R1. I'll go to CLI, and you remember how to change the font size up here if it's not big enough. So I'm going to press enter a couple of times. All right, so you can ignore all this stuff, startup config, etc. So it's as if I've just booted the router for the first time. This greater than means you're not in configuration mode. So you need to be able to configure the router. So CONF, I'll type some of the command and I will press the tab key. Sorry. I'll go to enable mode. If I don't remember the command, I can type E and question mark, and it will give me all the commands that start with the letter E. I can type EN. So I've completed some of the command, and then I can press tab and it will finish the command for me. Or I could just type EN and the router knows that the only available command that starts with those two letters is enable. And it will go from this user mode here into enable mode. This gives you a lot more commands. If I'm not sure what commands I can use, I can just press question mark here and it will show me all the available commands. Like I said, we're not going to go into them in too much detail. That's for the Cisco CCNA and above. It says more here. So if I want to see the rest of the commands, I press the space bar and the rest of the commands will appear. So this is if you're ever stuck. And if you want to only see, if you know the command begins with an S, again, S question mark, and it will show you the available commands that start with S. So one of the commands I want to use is show. Now I know the command I need to use is show controllers because I want to see if this has got the clock rate, the clock side of the cable on. So show controllers. Then if I'm ever stuck, I'll just press question mark and it's saying the next thing it expects to see is the interface name. I know the interface is serial, and for short, I can just type S/0/0/0. And you can see the router here knows that there's a clocking cable connected, and it appears to me you used to have to actually manually add this, but it's added a clock rate for me, so we don't need to worry about anything else here. So I'll press Q. I'm on the router prompt here. I need to do some configuration now. So if I type conf and then space and then question mark, I don't know why they do this. The only thing you can actually configure is the terminal. So configure terminal. If you wish, if you're doing this more and more, CompTIA is fine. You can see the prompt has changed here from the pound key to config. So now we're into configuration mode. Again, if you're ever stuck, press question mark and you can see all of the available options. I want to configure my interface. So one of these options should be interface. So I'm going to type INT for short, and we know the interface is serial 0/0/0. All I'm going to do is put an IP address on. And for short, I will put IP address. Again, if I'm stuck, I'll put I don't want to do IPv6. These are all my available commands. If I hit question mark, so ADD for short, and I'm going to do 10.0 0.0.1. You have to manually add the subnet mask on the Cisco router. So I'm going to add 255.255.255.252 and I'll press enter. Now this is where you start making money as a Cisco engineer. The interface won't come up. You can see an upside down red triangle. You have to tell the router to make the interface open. The command is no shut down, or for short, no shut. And it will say it's changed it from down to up. If I want to come out of all of this now, I'll type end. Now I'm going to go and do the other side. I'm going to do it a bit quicker because we've covered the commands and this isn't a Cisco course. So wherever I am, I can type where I want to go. I don't need to exit out of this mode. So I can type interface S0/0/0. It doesn't say anything else. I'm still configuring an interface, config-if, and I'm going to put the IP address 10. And I'm going to do the IP address, sorry. And I'm going to do the same, no shut. And you can see the green triangle here now, showing the interface is available to pass traffic. I'll go back to my original router 1. What I'm going to do is issue a quick command, show IP, and I'm looking at the interfaces. So interface, and then I just want a brief summary of what's going on. This is a very common command to use. So all my other interfaces are down. They haven't been configured at all, administratively down. This, I'll just make it a bit bigger so it's all in one row. So my serial interface I've configured here. I've got this IP address. The interface is okay. I've manually set it administratively up and it's up to pass traffic. So this means the other side is up as well because it can see keep alives. So what I'll do is I'll ping 10.0.0.2 and press enter. And this is the syntax, a bit different from Windows. It's sent 5 ping packets, success is 100%, and it's given me the round trip time, the average time, and the max in milliseconds. So a very simple lab. Again, this isn't a Cisco configuration course, it's just to show you a little bit about the Cisco IOS. Right, so let's download or open our packet tracer file, which I'll give you the link for in a bit. Open. Now, I normally have things saved in the Cisco Packet Tracer, a folder that's default, but I save these somewhere else for various reasons. So I've saved a before and after packet. So the before is the network that hasn't been configured. So let me talk you through this. What I think I'll do is I'll click on view and I'll click on view, options, preferences. I might just get rid of some of the clutter. Show device model, I think I'll take that off. And maybe names. I'll leave the port numbers on. So that's a bit better now. So I've got a server here, which I dragged from end devices and just dragged up a server, a couple of PCs, a switch, I think it's just a 2960 switch. Yeah, 2960 it says here. A router. I'll just hover over a 1941 router, which we used earlier. I'll just drag that up and added a WAN interface. A switch here, an end device here. I've got a smart device here. If you go to end devices and scroll across, you'll see a smartphone. I could have added a tablet, anything for the wireless. This is a wireless access point. So WLC PT. So if you go to devices here, wireless devices. In fact, what I'll do, that's the wrong device, which I'll change on the file you can access. So let me click on this. Let me delete that. And I'll put in a access point. So I'll drag that up here. And I'll fix that on the file. The only other thing is, sorry, let me connect it to the switch. Doesn't matter what port. So this is a DHCP server, so I'll configure it so it can allocate DHCP IP addresses to these devices here. I'll statically configure the IP address on the router and the server because they have to be fixed. All of these I'll manually add IP addresses. So first thing is, this is the 192.168.1 network over here. So config fast Ethernet 1. This is the 1.1, sorry. I'll also add the IP address to the router. So this is the gigabit. I'll just move this down. 0/0 interface. I'll now shut that interface. So these devices here will need to get a IP address from the server. So I'll go to Services, DHCP. Default gateway will be itself, 1.1. The start IP address, I think, will be .3. And then I'll turn it on and save. So these devices, if I hover over them, should get an IP address. In fact, I'll just go here. Oh, sorry, DHCP. You have to manually add that. So it's got the default gateway here. And you'll see the IP address allocated here. All right, so that's everything we need to worry about for this side. The gigabit 0/1 is on a different network, 172.16 116. Sorry, this network here. The IP address I'll add to the router gigabit 0/1 is 172.16.1.1. .255 and then 2 zeros. I'll now shut that. And then I'll add an IP address because I don't have DHCP here. I will add an IP address manually. So I should, in a moment, when this switch port goes from amber to green, be able to ping from this PC to this router. I'll just give it a moment to go to green here. And there we go. So desktop, command prompt. So I'll ping the router interface. That worked. All right. So the next thing is this connection, serial 010. And I'm on the 192.168.2 network and 010. Two 2.1. Oh, no shit. Don't think I need a clock rate on this. I'll leave it for now. And then 010 on this side will be 2.2. Oh, I got the wrong subnet mask, sorry. Let me go back to this router here. So if you do anything wrong, you can just write it out again. In fact, I'm going to leave that. I'll leave that for now. So it's 255.255. In the diagram, I put /30, but I'm going to use a RIP routing protocol just for ease. So I'll just leave that. Zero, 1, 0. Two dot two. No shut it. So that should come up. The other thing is this other interface here. So gigabit 0/0 is in the 10 network. So interface gigabit 0/0. So the 10 network should have a default mask of 255. No shit. And I'll put this PC here in the same network. Oops. The only other thing you need on your hosts is a default gateway because there's no DHCP server. So your pings won't work without a default gateway. Off the network, that is. It'll work on your local network, but not off the network. So these should have a default gateway automatically. If I want to get a reply off this subnet, I'll just add a default gateway from this. So 172.16.1.1. All right. So all of these networks can't communicate to the devices that are off the network. For example, this router can communicate with any network that's directly attached. So the 192.168.1, the 172.16, the 192.168.2. It can't get to the 10 network because it doesn't realize it exists. So we're going to need to add a routing protocol or static routes. So what I'm going to do is add a very simple routing protocol. There are loads of different ways to do this, but I'm going to add the RIP routing protocol just to keep it super simple. And I'm just going to say network 192.168.1.0, the 2.0, and the other one that's connected is the 172. So these are all the connected networks. I can't configure the 10 network because it's not connected, but I can configure it over here. So network 192.2.0 and then network 10, all the zeros. So this is the network number. All right, so what we've got now is this router configured with this and this network. This router here is configured with all networks that are connected to the interfaces. So if I do a show IP route here, it should show me something on the 10 network. So let me come out of here. So show IP route will show the routing information. And I'm looking for a network learned by the RIP routing protocol, which is the R, and it's the 10 network. So really from this router, I should be able to ping the 10.0.0.2 host. And there you go, we got a response. All right, so this automatically connects to the network. I'm not going to do any configuration. I've just left it as the blank default configuration. This PC, what I'll do is I'll ping 192.168.1.3 just to say I can connect all the way across end to end. So the ping may be getting there, but it might not be received back. So if I click on this device, desktop, IP configuration. All right, so I need to change the default gateway to the router. So we'll go ahead and change that to the 1.2. The reason why I do this is I normally add the one address to the router, but I did it to the server. So I will save that, turn it off and on again. And then I will go static and then DHCP. So what it's doing is it's sending all the traffic to the DHCP server, which isn't configured for any routing. So what is it? 1.3 again? Let me try. So 192.168.1.3. And we've got a reply. So I deliberately left the mistakes in. When I first configured it, I had it all working, but the mistake I made here was traffic was going from the PC to the server. The server doesn't have a routing table because I haven't configured routing. The traffic should go to the router here, then the router forwards it here, and then the reply comes back. The last thing I want to cover is simulation mode, which is over here. So this lets you have a look at packets actually traversing the network, and this is when you would be configuring the network in real-time mode. So what I'll do, I'll just grab a server here, a switch, doesn't matter what kind of switch, 2962, we won't do any switch configuration. We'll get a couple of end devices here, and we'll connect it all up with straight through cables, doesn't matter where you connect them. And finally to the server. I'll just put that there. All right, so I'll add some configuration first to this switch. So config the fast Ethernet, will hard set the IP address 1.1. I will services to DHCP. I won't turn it on yet. I'll say the default gateway is myself. DNS server, I'll make one up, although it's not on the network. And the start IP address 1.3 will be fine. I'll leave everything else as it is. Okay. I haven't turned it on yet, so what I will do, I'll just go to simulation mode. I'm going to turn the DHCP service on. I'm going to config interface DHCP. I shouldn't start yet. In fact, I'm just going to leave this one PC on, and then I can do edit filters. So these are all the filters. IP configuration, DHCP. And I found the button. It says show all none here, so I'll click on that. Edit filters, and just add the DHCP. And you can see DHCP is appearing here. All right, so let's go. So there'll be some traffic establishing the ARP address. And we'll wait till we get some DHCP packets going backwards and forwards. This hasn't allocated at the moment. Right, so I clicked on one of the packets, scroll down, the client address, your client address 192.168.1.1, your server address is 1.2, your server address is 1.1. So if I go into the client here, is this packet here. It's allocated the 192.168.1.2 address.